this seems like something we could discuss on the pod.
I know, I love it.
You think Disney ruined Star Wars?
No. Do I think it was like kind of like a money game? Yes. Do I think
It's valid.
Welcome
they
aboard.
ruined Star Wars? No. I think directors and some writers ruined Star Wars.
Okay.
In some aspects. Because original trilogy, best ones ever. Prequel trilogy, got a whole bunch of shade, but they're dope.
I agree.
I-
Those are my favorite. I'm not even gonna lie.
One, two, three are sick.
I love those. The only issue I have is that they turned the Force from this mystical, like, energy into these parasites.
Yeah, with midichlorians.
Yeah.
It went from like the Force being like the Holy Spirit that binds everything as like the presence to being like
Force parasites.
it's to
Yeah.
being a blood count. You're like, oh, you have a high med count, and you're like,
But
well,
yeah,
that's weird.
I thought
Versus
the
like,
first three, the prequel trilogy.
yeah,
Was really
prequel trilogy.
Because
Awesome.
I think Darth Maul is my favorite.
Oh man, Darth Maul's
Did not see-
incredible.
I did not see 8 and 9. 7 was unnecessary. The
Eight was
follow-up trilogy
8 was unnecessary.
was an atrocity.
7 was good. 8 was a flop. It's not like I don't even let my kids watch it. I'm just like, no, it's just bad. And it like I signed like the petition for it to be like uncanonized. I'm like, there's like big thing like sign it. Like this sucks. It's terrible. So it's not my favorite. Anyone listening, then that's fine. 9 was cool, but then everything else, spin-off wise, like all like other shows, when
Yeah,
you get
those are
into
good.
I agree.
when you get cartoon series, when you get Clone Wars and you get Rebels, and now you get Mando, Boba, and Ahsoka, those have completely saved the entire Star Wars universe.
I agree.
I think those shows, everything after that, it's tying everything together. So now we're like living in the Mandoverse, and like Ahsoka was basically season 5 of Rebels. It was awesome. So I think it's really cool.
I agree that I mean I've seen bits and pieces of what's come out, like some of the Mandalorian. My friends have showed me it.
It's cool.
I've seen like clips of Ahsoka.
I feel like you would like all the Star Wars stuff now.
Yeah, I enjoy
It's like
a
cool stuff
good
now.
a good epic, and really it's kind of like what Tolkien did, except you know there's multiple people working on it instead of just one guy. Which even Tolkien stuff, he and C.S. Lewis did their stuff together.
Yeah.
But
I think that was the biggest thing.
yeah,
Star Wars now, like why I say like writers. It's not really writers, it's more directors. Because you get guys that come in and be like, oh, well, I want to do something completely different that has nothing to do with the storyline. Like that, you just destroyed everything. That's not, there was already a script for this, and you decided not to use it. It's terrible. So that's what I think.
do they have anything with like? Oh well, I guess they have the Ahsoka stuff. Because from what I've heard, it almost sounds like they're transitioning completely away from the Jedi.
No, Ahsoka technically is a Jedi. Just kind of doesn't claim to be one anymore because she walked away from the Order in the Clone Wars. But is still a Force user. But still uses it for good. But then I'm not a believer in the gray Jedi. You're either dark or you're light.
Well, Yoda was a great Jedi.
So,
He was supposed to be like almost a balance keeper.
yeah. But like now the stuff now is like it's either good or bad, and you either like because
Balance is kind of what the Force is all about.
Luke went dark for a while, and then that's why like Episode 6, like my favorite one, Return of the Jedi, like he force chokes the Gamorrean guards. That's not a Jedi move. Like he's just like
I do
like
want to point
like,
out.
like that's not a you're choking them out. That's a dark side move, man. But I don't know.
I do want to point out, like, there's something that I did find kind of goofy with the Star Wars series in general. Like, not what Disney has done or, like, any of that. Is, I agree with what Kurt said about the Grey Jedi, because that kind of takes away from the whole Holy Spirit parallel.
Yeah.
Because,
And there's a lot of like biblical parallels to everything.
right.
Like in Star Wars, especially like you get name drops too. Like a lot of stuff is like you get Luke, and then you have Rebels characters that are Kanan and Ezra, and there's a guy named Zeb, and you get all these different things, and you tie them all in, and there's it's kind of a melting pot of different religions, but there's some stuff that's like there's
Yeah.
some heavy hitting Christianity, and it's really awesome.
But
You pick some cool parallels.
what was kind of goofy to me is that the Grey Jedi's whole job is to maintain balance, and balance, as it's interpreted in the Star Wars universe and in many cultures, is some good, some evil.
Yeah.
And that is just kind of, really dumb.
Right.
I mean,
It's
why are we tolerating evil?
Right. And that's the thing. And to me, Star Wars always started out as it's good versus evil. There was no like in between. You're either good or you're bad.
Right.
You're either yes or you're no, which jumps directly into what we're going to talk about tonight on the podcast. If you have been listening for the past 7 minutes, welcome. That was the best segue ever. Welcome to Movement Monday. We are back after a 2-week break. We just hung out a couple weeks ago and we didn't record. We just had fellowship. We just hung out. And last week, we had a youth lock-in. If this is your first time listening, this is a youth ministry hosted podcast run by leaders and students. And it's just super awesome. But the weekend before, last weekend, we had a lock-in, and we just needed to kind of decompress and just chill and kind of just to rest, and it was really rad. So
Also, we
no
were getting
pod.
way off topic.
Yeah, so
We weren't
we needed
talking
to,
about the gospel and Jesus anymore.
yeah. So we needed to kind of settle. We needed to settle back in and round it back out. So if you've been listening,
That was my fault too. I'm sorry.
it was everyone's fault. We got on topic and off topic and just kind of went round and round. But the big thing that we talked about on this podcast, again, if you've been listening, it's not a Star Wars pod, but we are Star Wars fans, and we've already brought in parallels between Star Wars and the gospel, and it's really awesome. And whether it's names or movies or themes or whatnot, and it's just really cool. So, in the nicest way possible, this is a semi-nerd podcast, and it's really cool, and we just own it, and we love it. But welcome to Movement Monday. This is episode 17. My name's Kurt. Nathan's drinking water.
Yeah, I'm Nathan.
It was good.
Staying hydrated.
Jacob's here, and Caleb's looking super comfy on the chair.
Yes.
See?
Hello.
There he is. But hey, man, tonight jumping on to this week's episode, and be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. It's super fun. Shout out to our 12 subscribers. We love it. Let's get lucky number 13. If you're listening, just go ahead and subscribe, and you can be the lucky 13, and that'd be pretty awesome. We're all for it. But starting off tonight, in the segue of it, we're gonna talk here shortly after we do the nice little icebreaker, which we've kind of had an icebreaker. It's been fun, but just a deeper discussion here. But we're gonna talk about our yes and our no and how they need to be exactly that. So whether it's, again, talking Star Wars, it's either good or bad, it's light or dark, it's Sith or Jedi, it's yes or it's a no, and we'll dig into that. So the fun icebreaker tonight is and we just finished this series last month, and it's kind of funny. Ironically, during small group we didn't even do these questions. We had a great conversation within small group, so we didn't even talk about this, which was really fun that we're talking about it now because God's awesome. But when was there a time when you said yes, but it was actually a no? And when was there a time when you said no, but it really was a yes? And we're going to dig deeper into what Jesus tells us in the book of Matthew, and how yes is meant to be yes and no is meant to be no. But for you guys, when was the last time you said yes, but you're like, dang, I don't want to?
That's kind of funny that you actually bring that up, because
Nice.
just now, like a couple seconds ago, one of my friends called me because I told him we could, play something. But Will also called me, so I'm probably gonna play with him instead. So that's kind of an example.
It's like, yes, I can play. And you're like, no, I'm playing with my brother.
Yeah.
So there you go. Okay.
Well, I think there
Real life example right there. Sick.
I think there are different. I'm going to try to explain this. I don't know how well I'm going to do. So Jesus tells a parable about two sons. It's not the prodigal son.
Mm.
The older one, the dad tells his older son to go work in the fields, and the older son is like, no, I don't want to. But then he goes and does it because he knows he's supposed to, or for whatever reason he goes.
Yeah.
Then the younger son says, yeah, okay, I'll go, and then he doesn't. And Jesus says, like, the first son did the will of his father. So in that instance, I think it's saying yes or no, but then having a change of heart afterward.
Right.
Whereas I think what Paul's talking about is being deceitful.
Yeah.
Like intentionally, like knowing, no, I'm not going to do whatever, but I'm telling you I will.
And I think that's what Jesus talks about, and what we see with this. And we'll jump deeper in and talk more about it. But Matthew 5:37 says, "All you need to say is simply yes or no. Anything beyond this comes from the evil one." And what he's talking about, 4 verses before, he says in 33, he says, "Again, you've heard it said to people long ago, do not break your oath, but keep the oaths you have made to the Lord." So it's, I said it, I mean it, and owning it. So like, hey, I said yes, so I'm going to take charge, and I'm going to take care of it. But then, and you can have, and it can be, I think this one's not so much like a change of heart, but actually like, my word's my bond. I'm going to say it, I'm owning it, and whether it's a yes or a no, like, there's so many times, and I've said it, I jokingly say it in my family, but then there's times where, like, I'm, like, dead serious. We're like, hey, you want to do this? No. We're like, okay, come on. I'm like, one day I'm going to say no, and I'm going to mean it. And, like, and everyone just laughs. I'm like, but I actually meant no. Like, I really... Hey, Gert, you want to get... Nope. Really don't. Oh, come on. We're all... Okay. And like, I, like, flat out meant no. I really don't want to. But we go, and it's... And there is a change of heart in that. But, like, I jokingly, seriously say yes. Or say no. I'm like... And then go off of that. And it's so it's kind of funny, and but there's only been a couple times where I've said no, and like 100% meant it. With like answering a question like, Kurt, how about this? No. Like, why not? No, dude, I said no. And I don't need to defend. My wife and I were talking about it when I was sermon prepping for this a couple weeks ago, and she had said it was just awesome. She's like, you don't have to defend your no. You don't have
and
to.
I hate when people, if I say no, and people say why.
Yeah, man.
Because sometimes I just don't have a reason, and I just don't want to.
No is good enough.
I agree.
Like, you don't have to. And I got hit with this at our lock-in, right? This is so funny. Because Andrea had said, she's like, hey, you don't have to give a reason for your no. I said no. I meant it. No is no. And in any situation, especially like with our ministry, it's 6th through 12th grade. So in anything, like guys and girls, girl can say no to a guy, you know, in whatever, or a guy can say no to a girl, but everyone's answer or everyone's response is why. Like, I don't have to give an answer. I said no in the first place, and no means no, and yes means yes, and that's what I got.
I think we just have to be prepared for people to resist our no or our yes.
Yeah,
And that's hard to do, honestly. But
because
I
you
mean,
could say yes, and somebody be like, well, why do you want to do that? And you're like, because I want to.
if you're not like, if you're not, I don't know how to say this, but I automatically, if somebody asks me something and I give a response, if it's a response I know that they don't want me to give, or like the other response,
Yeah,
I automatically assume they're going to resist and start asking questions.
right.
Well, I mean, most people do.
Right. So you just have to be like pre-established, I guess is a word.
Yeah. And Peter,
That's something to keep me up at night. Thinking of a social situation where I have to explain why I said no or yes, and then I'll just go through a whole wormhole.
like, yeah, and you're processing through everything.
Yep.
You're role playing in your brain of like, man, I do that a lot, especially
I
like.
catch myself thinking that all the time. Thinking like similar.
And then you get
I-
into that situation and you didn't say any of that stuff. It was completely different,
Right.
which is so funny. You're like, dude, I got it all mapped out. And then you're like, I didn't say any of that.
I only do that when they say what they're supposed to say.
Right? Yeah. Like, I know what they're going to say, and I got the perfect fire back. And you're like,
Exactly.
they didn't
Honestly,
say that.
I've gotten to the point where my friends, in various circles, I have different circles of friends, and
Which is cool.
yeah,
At least you get different shapes. Or you have circles.
yeah.
You got multiple friends.
The particular circle, quote unquote, is a very strange shape of friends because I have some odd friends, I'll be honest. But I've gotten to the point where a lot of I'll do something that they will have questions for, and if they have questions as to like if they're trying to understand your side of what you're saying,
Mm.
like you tell them no and they want to try to understand why you said no, that's when you should have an answer. for
Right.
them.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I can, that's understandable. But
Right. But a lot of times I just tell them if I can't be there, I'll just be like, hey, I can't come.
Yep.
And if I'll give a reason,
Yeah.
or like, I'm gonna be here.
Yep.
I'm gonna be somewhere. I'm going to that.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I just don't give any like argument or any of that. Or sometimes I'll just tell them I won't be there,
Yep.
not give any explanation.
Yep. Well, that was me a couple weeks ago. Like, we went to youth pastor breakfast. I wasn't coming because I was supposed to have an appliance delivered at my house. That appliance did not show up. So I was like, hey guys, I'm coming. Then I got caught up doing other things here at the church, and I was like, okay guys, sorry, not coming. So, and I got other stuff done, but I was like, man, I wanted to go. So like again, in that situation, I wanted my yes to be a yes and my no to be a no. But then it's like my no ended up being a no. I couldn't show up, but my initial yes was like, I'm coming. I'm gonna leave soon. This is gonna be good. And then I got caught up, and I was like, by the time I make it there, I can't. And it's just so it's frustrating. But then I think it was First Peter talks about like always give a reason for the hope that we have. So always being prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks for the hope that we have, and that, I think that's us living out our faith. But I think it's so good at the same time going always be prepared to have an answer for the hope that you have. Like just whether it's no or yes, but having it all in my head. It's like a circus trick over here. We're gonna do like we gotta do like a live video one day. We're just passing goldfish. Jacob hasn't missed one. If you catch this one, it's gonna be up. Yep, it was close.
Nathan is throwing goldfish into Jacob's mouth.
From a distance. From like 3 yards. 2 yards? A yard and a half? I don't know. But I think that's the biggest thing. Like I feel we always have to whether defenses go up. I hope you heard that.
No, I know it hurt.
Up the nose. I feel like we have to. We're so maybe like pre-programmed to give an answer or to need to defend ourselves versus like no or yeah man I'm coming.
Well, part of it
Or
has
like-
to do with,
Like we always have to do that.
and I found this in my life. Part of it is the fear of man, always wanting to be accepted and wanting everyone to, because we want to be able to agree with people,
Yeah, for sure.
because that just lessens the tension. But sometimes there has to be tension if the other person isn't willing to see your side of it.
Yeah.
I mean, not that you get into an argument, but if the other person is refusing to meet you where you're at, then
Yeah.
there's nothing you can really do.
Yep. And I think the big thing too is like we had talked about it, and what I preached in the message was like being respectful on both sides of it. Like respecting the no and respecting the yes. And whether it's finding common ground on it or doing whatever, but almost like not going in with like your guard up, but you have a response ready to go. It's like the same thing what Jacob was talking about, like when you role play a whole situation in your head, whether it's an argument or a conversation that you're about to have, like here's how this is going to lay out. I got it all mapped out. When they reply the way I hope they do, I got the best one ever. And then in that situation, when it actually comes up and you're like, hey, we've got to talk, I got to share this with you, and you're like, they're going to tell me what I think I said in my brain. And then they don't, and then you're like, oh, you realize that situation maybe wasn't as big as you thought it was, and you completely forget. Like I've had conversations in my head going, I'm going to blow this person out of the water with things. I'm so frustrated. Here's what I'm going to say. I've got it all mapped out. Don't get in my way. I'm going to just destroy this person. And then I get in the middle of the start of this conversation, and it's completely different. And there's so much peace, and there's so much just restoration where there was meant to be destruction. I was coming in guns blazing, like, this is going to get ugly. I'm going to say things, and this has been like church stuff. I've walked in and be like, here we go. You sit, I'm going to sit, and I'm going to yell at you. And they've walked in and be like, hey, I've got to tell you this real quick. This happened here, and I'm going, hey, well, all right. A completely different conversation where I've walked out going, well, thank you, Jesus.
I
That's
feel like a
happened
lot
to
of
me
times
so
when you plan
much.
them out, it doesn't go as planned. And a lot of times, I mean, in my case, it goes in a better direction.
then you're like, man, how cool is God?
A lot of times, the other person doesn't even realize that it's a conflict.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
100%.
Yep.
That's happened to me
That's a really
multiple
good point.
times.
And that's the thing, like, we get so mad at, excuse me, we get so mad at the other person for saying something or hurting us, and they don't even know that. Like, oh man, like, we've talked about it before, like, I'm going to tell this person, I'm just going to, you know, what's the common phrase or like the common code, like, I'm going to give them a piece of my mind, you know, or I hope they're hurting as much as I am. Like, probably not. They don't even know what they said is bothering you. You're letting it fester and letting it eat away at you, and they don't even know. Or if they do, they don't think it's a big deal. So it's always so funny when you have these conversations like, I had no idea. And there's other times, like, I've had conversations, like, I sent a text the other day to one of our leaders. It was funny. I had jokingly made a comment about a situation, and it just burdened me during small group that I texted him back like 10:30 at night. It's like, hey man, my joke was out of line. Shouldn't have said that. And he replies like, that was funny. Didn't think anything. I was like, well, I felt convicted, and I needed to apologize. He's like, man, and he was so cool. He's like, man, I laughed, and I was not upset. I didn't even think anything about it, but there's absolutely no reason to apologize. But I felt better on my end going, I can't go to sleep knowing that maybe what I said did upset him. I just couldn't do it. So like and I'd rather feel convicted than condemned. So it's like, hey man, he's like, dude, not even a big deal. I didn't think anything of it. It was funny, and you're fine. It was like not out of line. This was great. I was like, okay, good night, and that was it. And we were good to go. But I feel like in the midst of me coughing, gracious. It's kind of a side story with our yes and our no, but again, having the responses that we do have, it was just really fun. All the crazy. Anyone else? Yes with your yes, no is a no, or playing out conversations in your head. How'd that go? Nathan's chewing. He's got. Oh, you smell your goldfish.
I always win the conversations in my head.
Amen to that, man. We blow people out of the water with, like, man, I'm gonna smoke this out.
Yeah.
And this is I will win with myself. Sometimes I've lost. And I'm like, no, that's not a good idea. But then
Yeah.
again,
It's
I do
almost
have
like you're
those
thinking
too.
of it, and there's no chance you win.
right?
Like, oh well, if I say this, they're gonna just respond with that, and then etc. I don't sound like a nerd.
I've done that so many times that I've come to the point where I will start having that argument in my head, but then I begin to actually have them make rational responses instead of the ones I make. And
Whoa.
eventually,
That's a big deal.
it ends at the point where either they win or I realize that even if I win the argument, it's just going to destroy them, and the best thing we can do for them is pray
Nice. Yep.
and confront them if needed. But
Yep. Well, I was reading today, also in Luke, where, it says if, your brother sins against you, go and talk to them about it. So it's not just, letting it fester, anything like that, but having a conversation and informing them, saying, here's what's going on. rebuke them, forgive them, and move forward.
You know what I just
What you
go-
get?
When you say that, I actually remembered the story of Moses and the rock. And there actually was a story earlier in the book of Numbers where God told Moses to strike the rock. And Moses did, and the water came out. But in this particular instance, Moses was really frustrated with the Israelites.
Yeah.
And God told him to speak to the rock, but instead Moses,
Schwacked it.
yeah, he hit it. And that's a really good, that I just remembered that when you said that about speaking to somebody instead of like blowing up on them.
Yeah. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I think in any situation, whether it our yes or our no, it's said with, gentleness and respect. It's the same thing. Always give a reason. Again, this is Peter.
So tempted to hit things.
Oh, man, 100%. I have we have a saying in our house, and it's an educational term, but you gotta use your words. It's not using our physical force or anything like that. But I can't read minds.
I'm just gonna say that can go really badly once they get older.
I have a small history of putting holes in the walls. I also have a small history of
So do I.
fixing them.
But I actually put holes in the wall for recreational purposes.
Punch through drywall just to do it.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
cool.
well, I need that. I need that in my life. Although
I had to cover them up with posters though.
That's
Yeah.
pretty funny. Caleb, new poster? Yes. When'd you get that one? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I don't have drywall, so it's kind of.
although there's
I
a VR,
can't really punch through things.
There's a game. So I just got a VR.
Cool.
Thing. I actually got a while ago, but I fixed it. There's this game that just gets out so much rage. Play it. It's so fun.
Yeah. My rage machine is sitting behind me. It's my therapy.
Honestly, I can see
This
it.
is that's
Start hitting them.
for everyone listening. My drums here in our youth room are behind me. So my personal kit is here. And I play throughout the week, and some people still ask me "Hey, Kurt, do you play drums?" I'm like, "Yeah." Help lead worship on Wednesdays and Sundays, and I play. I come down and I will practice a song that I don't know, but then I also come down, and it's my therapy. Whether it's I'm super pumped and want to go play, or I'm upset because I can hit things super hard and we're good to go. And at the end of it, I feel so much better. I'm like, okay, I'm good. And we move forward. But yeah, man, we used to have a punching bag on my back porch. Used that for the longest time.
I used to have a punching bag in my garage. That was probably there when we had D now.
Oh, nice.
At the Sony's house. That was when I was very young.
Yeah.
Well, 8.
Yep. Because Will was in high school.
Well, I was probably 9 and 10.
Yeah, he was in high school.
I think it was his freshman
Or he
year.
was middle year. Or he was late middle school, early high school.
So probably
Could have
8 or
been.
9, maybe 10.
Got party with all the
that
dudes.
punching bag was definitely down there because I used to write people's names on it.
There you go. Take him out.
Yeah. With my arsenal,
There you go.
swords and stuff.
Nice. But yeah, I think there's, again, going back to saying, we have to use our words, because if not, we let our emotions drive, we'll let our physical abilities drive, and like that, where we have to be able to communicate and to say, here's what's going on, everything this way. I mean, this is kind of an ongoing conversation with my kids. It's like, hey man, I'm not a mind reader. You got to tell me what's going on. You got to use your words. Because if not, my kids will strike anything. and it's like throwing stuff or punching each other or anything like that. And we're like, hey man, you have to chill. You got to tell them what is going on. Like, he hit me in the face. Did you tell him to stop? Like, well, no. I wanted him to stop, but so I figured stop meant to punch him in the face. No, that's not how it
They
goes.
get in, like fist fights?
Sort of like semi-small ones. Nothing big yet, but
That's good.
eventually we'll buy boxing gloves, and we have a trampoline now, so we're just. My brother and I used to fight, and it was really cool because my brother was a football player, and I did martial arts. So we would put on. I had like 2 sets of gear, and we would. I'm preaching on this Wednesday, which is really funny. But we would.
Spar.
Yeah, we would spar,
That's
and
me and Willow sparred once.
it was fun.
I got destroyed.
We used to have
I
those-
destroyed my brother. Kyle, if you're listening, if you listen to our pod, everything was cool until my dad told him I was not good off my feet. So what my brother did, well, my brother's a football player, his main objective was to get people off the ground. So he took me down and then just punched. I'm not any good on the ground. I'm good, I'm fast on my feet, and can do takedowns and all sorts of stuff, but away from that, I was gone. So,
Yeah,
just kind of
that
funny.
was- That was when Will was a black belt.
Nice.
If y'all didn't know.
Shout out Will Summy.
We used to have the big
He's,
fluffy
he's going to
punching
be a
gloves.
13th subscriber. Who? What?
We're last name dropping?
Choose Will. S.
How many zombies are there?
Yeah, we name dropped tonight. He's cool.
So worship.
Not a school. We don't name drop schools.
Yeah, no.
Or addresses. Or
places.
where our church currently is. Or where our youth room is. So there is that.
But yeah, we used to have the big fluffy boxing gloves. That were
Yeah.
like pillows.
Those
We
are fun.
could actually use them as pillows.
I had like the blow up ones until like they were inflatable. These were super cool because I
I've
was.
never seen those.
Oh man, they were super awesome. It was a red pair and a blue pair. But then like you'd stick them on your hand. They were kind of like floaties, but they were huge. But if you punched hard enough, your hand would go to the end. So like they were meant to be like little rock'em sock'em guys. But when you punched hard enough, your hand would go through the stuff.
So it hurt.
So you're actually like punching people, and it sucked. It was bad. So we had those. My dad's like, "Why are you guys bleeding? These are blow up boxing gloves." We're like, "No, dude." So he put one on and like punched us, and he was like, "Oh, these are bad." That's probably why they went out of production because people actually like,
We getting hurt.
"Oh yeah, it was a danger waiting to happen." It's just funny.
We just
So
had
somebody said no to them.
stuffed ones.
Yeah. So eventually we'll probably get boxing gloves and we'll just let them do it and it'll be fine. But until then, they've got to communicate, and I think that's the biggest thing.
That's because me and Will have learned to do that in the past couple of years. Because when I was in elementary school, we wouldn't really fight, but he would just mess with me mentally. He would manipulate me,
Mm-hmm.
That's older brother.
and I would like.
Oh man,
swing
we're
on
all
him.
the youngest in here. Whoa, youngest sibling pod, Movement Monday. A
And Josh
youngest.
was here.
Oh
And
man.
Nick. Oh my god.
Whoa, dude.
That's
That's
wild.
amazing. We are all. This is Movement
This is
Monday,
the
a
younger
younger sibling
sibling
podcast.
Younger brother.
Younger. Oh man, younger brother sibling podcast. Dude, we've never thought about that before.
That's pretty weird.
That's really funny. Wow.
But yeah, he would I don't know.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know. He would just.
Mentally mess with you.
And then I'd like swing on him or throw a spar at him or throw a rock at him. All of which I did.
All the things. My brother did the exact same thing to me and still does it today. Would just mentally one up me. And my response is always, "Shut up, Kyle." It's like, that's your response, Kurt? Like, that's all I got. That's all I got, man. I just can't. I don't want to say anything else. It's just really bad. So, it's always cool. But, biggest thing, closing out tonight, Great chat. It's exactly what. Well, a couple of weeks ago we were going to talk about it, and then I was going to preach on it. So, but a couple of weeks ago, conversation was super awesome, and it was one where we just talked, and Caleb was talking. I was like, "Hey, do we want to pod?" He's like, "Maybe tonight we don't. Maybe tonight we just chat. We don't need to record." So, and that worked really great, and it was awesome. But the biggest thing, anyone listening, our younger brother sibling podcast tonight, is being able to communicate, and then to ask yourself and to process and to pray before you proceed with anything else. I think it's the biggest thing. I got asked to do something the other day to serve on like kind of like a leadership team, and I said, let me think about it and let me pray about it, and I'll give you a response, because I don't want my yes to be a no. And their reply was, thank you for taking this into consideration and not just being like wishy-washy about it. Because I don't want to be like, yeah, I'm in, and then be like, nope, sorry, can't. That's just no fun. But I think that's the biggest thing, is being able to pray, process before you proceed or provide an answer. So those big things there. But yeah, that was super awesome tonight talking. But wherever you are and listening tonight and all of our conversations, Jesus tells us simply let your yes be your yes and your no be a no. And again, you don't have to defend those, but then again, at the same time, you can have an answer to them if you so choose, and to always be prepared to give an answer, but process those and to let them be yes or no, be rock and roll. So, my dudes, how can we be? Wow, how about that? Haven't done a podcast for 2 weeks and I forget how to talk. How can we be praying for one another? What's going on?
My good friend's dog got ran over this weekend.
Ah, man. Did they survive? Oh, that's a drag. That's no fun. Very sad.
Yeah,
Losing an animal is definitely like losing a family member, so
100%.
that's no fun at all. Any animal at that. That's really sad.
This is from Nick. Good basketball season.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
Mom.
Hey, man.
Another
Memo.
one is about to pop up.
Oh, he's that can just be his unspoken one.
Yeah, practice.
Oh, never mind. It's a basketball season. Yeah, practice, and that's why he's having Chinese food, carbo loading, bulking up.
I had two.
Yeah.
He had 2 practices?
No.
Oh, you
I
had.
had it.
Oh, you have 2.
No, I had it.
What?
I also have basketball practice.
Wait, you have basketball practice?
Both of us did.
Nathan joined the basketball team?
Mm-hmm.
Wait,
Did you really?
you made the team?
We're gonna. I'm
Wait
going
a
through
second.
the-
You're on the.
well, I
Wait.
wasn't able to make it to try out, so I'm a manager.
Close enough.
You're on the team, man.
I won't be going though.
Hey, hey, man. You guys win stuff. You're still part of the team. It's still awesome. If you
So
guys were in the
who's-
Super Bowl, you still get a Super Bowl ring. I know it's a completely different sport, but just
I mean,
just
same concept.
just swim with me, all right? I'm just gonna throw a whole bunch of sports analogies now.
We don't have a pool here.
That's not the point. Don't make me strike out. That was like my fourth.
Oh,
That was my fourth reference here. All right, so basketball and tryouts, or not basketball, practices, all that stuff. Cool deal. Anything else?
okay, he did not say that specific person.
I said
Ah!
it first.
Church
You're
member.
talking about the one.
Shout out church member. Prayer
Now
request.
He said it.
Oh,
I said it first. Tell him Jacob said it first.
Tell him Juicy J beat him. Beat him to the prayer. That's what it was. Now he's gonna text you. Now he's gonna text you individually. All right. Anyone else? Any other prayer requests?
They say, well, shucks.
That's fine. All right. Anyone want to close us out in prayer? All right, I got us. Let's do it. Hey, God, we thank you so much for tonight. That we are back for episode 17 of this podcast. God, we thank you for opening this door for us to record these and just have fun and to have the great conversations that we have with Caleb and Jacob and Nathan tonight for the, it really should be named just the Younger Brother podcast. It's just really fun tonight. But God, we ask that you be with Jacob's friend whose dog was unfortunately killed by a car. And then we ask for a good basketball season, good practice for Nick and Nathan, for the players and the managers, just all good things there. And God, just as we start this brand new week, and who's ever listening, whenever, this is Movement Monday, so it's recorded on a Monday. But at the start of our week, that we think about our answers to all the questions that lie ahead of us. And before we proceed with an answer, that we pray and we process, and then we provide the answer. And God, let those be, let the yeses be a yes and the no's be a no. And God, help us just to seek after you with everything, and bring us back here safely on Wednesday as we jump into our midweek boost, and we're just super pumped about it. So God, we thank you and praise you for the God of our lives, and everyone said, amen. Hey dudes, thanks for podding tonight. All the fun. You guys are awesome. Great chat. And remember, if you have not already, you can be the 13th subscriber, and that would be really awesome. So be sure to like and
You
Hey,
can
man,
be
let's
the
go.
13th ghost.
gnarly movie, by the way.
I watched the full thing as an adult, and I wasn't as into it as I was.
Right? It wasn't as scary as a kid. All the crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, well, thanks for tuning in. We will see you guys next time. See ya.